Greetings, Stalkers, and welcome to the Grymm Mansion. My name is Abominathan, your doctor, and I'm joined by...
Weird Eldritch. Certainly one of the occultists out there.
Indeed. What are we talking about tonight?
Something.
Yeah, something. I forgot what thing it was. Oh, right. The thing. The candles are lit, these circles have been closed, and the words of power have been recited. Let us begin tonight's gathering. We're back in the 80s, baby. This is a classic.
An absolute classic.
I feel like if you haven't seen this movie, you've definitely heard of it. You've definitely seen references of it somewhere. It's really, really, really influential at this point. It was actually based on a novella by...
Campbell? John W. Campbell?
Yes, John Campbell, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, should we just jump into it?
Or I can start, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually starting in a very familiar place. The opening shot is very reminiscent of something like Alien.
Yeah, indeed. It is, yeah.
We see a space shuttle somewhat crash into our planet, into an undisclosed location, but soon to be revealed somewhere around modern-day Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really have more information than this at this point. An helicopter following a sled dog, a husky or something of the sort,
Yeah,
seemingly trying to shoot it down. This dog eventually reaches an American outpost, as I'm sure you're all familiar. Antarctica isn't really owned by anyone, but there are several scientific research outposts.
Yep.
The dog appears to be afraid, obviously, running for its life, as crazy Norwegians try to shoot it. And if you're a Norwegian, don't spoil the movie for everyone yet. Or if you speak Norwegian, I guess.
Yeah, because they land... They even try to, like, kill the dog with grenades and stuff. They eventually land the helicopter, and the husky runs up because, you know, the Americans hear all this commotion and see this helicopter doing circles around their outpost, and they go out to see what the hell's happening. And the dog comes up to them and starts licking one of them, or trying to lick one of them, almost like fervently. As this Norwegian comes out of the helicopter, which then explodes because they mismanaged some grenades and stuff, and comes with a sniper rifle and screams something in Norwegian to them, which they obviously can't understand.
He actually shoots someone in the leg, just as an intimidation tactic. But I just want to kill the dog, it seems.
No, I think he was trying to kill the dog, but he just missed and hit the guy's leg. And then the leader...
Yeah, but he's clearly not shooting to kill any person.
Yeah.
He wants this dog.
Yeah, he wants to kill the dog specifically, yes. The guy, the leader of the station, comes up and shoots the guy and kills him right on the spot.
Yeah, Commander Gary.
Yes.
He's I think the only one with a weapon in the entire station, if I'm not mistaken.
Possibly, yeah.
They try to figure out what's going on. Why would a Norwegian show up here and try to shoot? One of them even jokingly says that maybe they're at war with Norway.
Yeah, that's because Windows is the guy who not the system, the person called Windows is trying to... So he's the guy who's doing the communication. He's in the radio trying to communicate with well, with the Institute, and their communications are gone. They are unable to communicate, so they're essentially completely isolated in terms of contact. The other guy shows up. He's like, maybe we're at war with Norway. But yeah, they eventually.
Regardless,
Mhm.
they do try to go out and search for this station because they find it really weird that he was carrying like gallons of kerosene with them. They
Mhm.
find it really strange that they've been there for very little time, considering the effects of cabin fever shouldn't be setting in this early. And they got a bunch of theories of what could be going on. So
Yep.
the pilot and who is it again? Someone else decided to go up
It's
to the
Mc-
doctor, Dr. Cooper, right?
yes, McCready's the pilot, and Copper is the
Copper.
doctor,
Sorry,
and
yes.
the two of them go check out the other outpost, the Norwegian outpost, and they arrive, and the entire place is trashed. It is scorched.
They find the place itself burned down together with hastily burned corpses,
Yeah,
malformed ones even.
yeah, a very weird corpse, like a an aberration
They can't
of
really be
some
sure if
sort.
it's a person or not.
Yeah, and then they eventually, I know I'm kind of rushing this a little bit.
That's fine.
We'll go back to the dog. They find so McCready finds this giant block of ice. This, like, let's say like 6 meters by 4 meters, and it has a giant hole in it.
Oh,
And
it's voluminous, right? It's like not
it's
like
it's like a
a
pool.
cube, not a cube,
Yeah,
but
and it has a giant hole in it, and they assume that, okay, whatever thing showed up, like maybe something caused this, and maybe it was in the ice, and they assume that, okay, maybe it's that weird malformed thing that's burned down and like in the front of the cab. Maybe that's it, and they decide to take it back to investigate, do an autopsy on it. Copper finds the papers and documents that they left behind, but they're all in Norwegian, so he can't understand them. They decide to take it all back to their station to then see what's in there.
together with some tapes.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so back at our American outpost, the dog starts undergoing some. He's not feeling well. He's put together with the other ones, and very rapidly things start going terribly wrong.
Oh yeah.
He starts to mutate into something that I can't really explain. I think the idea is not to be able to put into words, but imagine as if large tendrils attach to the other dogs as it slowly starts to consume them, and its face opens up vertically to show a mouth inside of its head. And it's all very visual.
Yes.
The pilot and doctor are back, thankfully, and I guess the pilot remembers what he saw and asks one of them to bring the flamethrower. They put the whole thing down.
Yeah.
I'll let you go over the autopsy.
The weird malformed body that they got, they decided to perform an autopsy. I mean, they were okay. They had performed an autopsy on that one, which they realized was just a person, which had somehow had their skull kind of melted into two. It was
But all the internal organs were there. Everything was there. Like
yeah,
it was a person.
yeah. It used to be a person somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And then Copper decides to do an autopsy on this new malformed body of the original of the dog, and realizes it's a very weird organism. This is it's very strange. It's a type of organism that seems to mimic other organisms.
Like to a degree of almost perfection,
Mm-hmm.
if not perfection.
And of course, Copper and some other. No, it wasn't Copper. It was actually I think it was Blair who started investigating it.
Yeah,
It was.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Blair.
It was.
Yeah, as the biologist started investigating this organism, and meanwhile they check the tapes, and they realize that they see this recording of the Norwegian group finding what appears to be a UFO in the ice, Or, no, actually, I mean they see them find something quite large under the ice, and they're putting some explosives, and then they decided to go check it out. McCready and two others, which I don't remember who it was, but they go and check out the site, and they realize it is indeed a UFO, this pretty large circular flying saucer, essentially this spaceship. Right next to that is the hole in the same shape of the block of ice that McCready had seen in the other station. So they realize, okay, whatever this thing was, it was probably in the ship, which had been buried. They realized they did a test on the ice. They realized this ship had been here for at least 100,000 years, and
Which is longer than any of them can comprehend. Let's be fair.
yeah, I mean it's longer than any civilization. Than like I think yeah, it's just
Incredibly old, ancient, and it's been here and didn't die. It's still alive.
yeah. This thing was frozen in the ice right next to it. It seemed to have crawled out of it and then frozen until they woke it up again. Yeah, so that's when the doctor or the biologist realizes he's doing a bunch of simulations in the computer, understands that this organism takes a while to consume and mimic the cells. So it's not an organism like one thing. It is each of the cells is its own organism, I guess. It infects someone. It infects a biological being and slowly starts taking it over. So I guess it can do two things. It can do that. It can slowly take it over, or it can do some more brutal, like I guess the thing that we saw with the dogs and that. But that's that's I guess a last resort. And he does another simulation and realizes, okay, what would happen if this organism went out into the world? He realizes this would take over. This would basically be the end of life on Earth, because every organism until the last one would be consumed by this thing. So he essentially goes into paranoia at this point. He's just like dead set. Okay, I'm like, we can't allow this to happen.
Even if we all die, this thing cannot be allowed to leave.
Yeah, so he breaks the servers. He sabotages. He destroys the helicopter when they come back. I mean, after they've already, they've left it unattended. He just starts wrecking everything, but they manage to calm him down.
Well, they isolate him. They put him into quarantine, essentially, in a room away from everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not allowed to play with the other boys until he's calmed down.
Exactly. I don't know whose idea. I think it was the doctor's idea. He says that he can perform a test, because at this point McCready and the others, they realize, okay, this means that there's a possibility that some of us,
maybe all of us,
are infected. This is exacerbated by the fact that they actually witness one of them get infected when Windows was putting it was Windows and some other guy, I don't remember his name. They were putting some of the malformed corpses and stuff in the storage room, and Bennings was left alone. And when Windows comes back, he sees that Bennings he had his clothes ripped out of him, and he was being consumed by this tentacle thing. Yeah, and then when they come back, Bennings is not there. They see him running out, and they chase after him. He's got these weird hands, like these claw hands.
Yeah, still not entirely human.
Yeah, he looks at them and he produces this howl.
Not human either.
Yeah, and they set him ablaze, and they decide to burn everything.
This is when they formulate the theory that perhaps the thing, when it attacks something, it must tear your clothes out in order to get to you.
Yep.
And it's interesting because at the start of the movie, there is a Chekhov's gun with Knowles, I think, the cook, who asks who left their drawers, like their dirty underwear, in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And this is something that McCready now is holding on to, because he doesn't know who it is from. The tag has been deleted.
Yep. correct. And
So they know he knows for sure that one of them, not him, but one of them has been infected.
yep. And we actually saw, so earlier in the movie, we saw the dog enter someone's room. And it's interesting because the shadow is purposefully very vague, so we can't actually tell who it is. So in principle, this was the person that was from. This was the infected person. But yeah, at this point, nobody knows who it is. McCready
They
doesn't
decide
trust anyone.
They decide to kill all the dogs.
Yep.
No, wait, never mind. Blair did kill all the dogs. And as you said, after he destroyed the radios and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So they come up with the test for the blood, and they decide to test it on blood samples that they had locked from the beginning of their trip in a storage unit. Just as they're about to do so, they realize that someone has tampered with the samples. The lock was opened and all the blood has been drained out, so testing is impossible. There's a big debate as to who did it, because only one person has the keys, but another person usually borrows them, yada, 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 yada. So there's a big level of mistrust.
Yeah. At this point,
Around
they're really kind of
outpost.
throwing accusations around because I think it was Windows borrowed the key from, I think it was
The commander.
the commander, and so he thinks that they think it was him, so he goes run to grab like a gun, and then the commander goes and points a gun at him. It's escalating, and McCready is like, "You gotta calm down." They do calm down, but it's nobody trusts anybody.
They decide to elect a new leader, though, in McCready, and they give him the gun as a sign of like it's your sheriff badge. It's this gun.
Right. So before he had explained to McCready the situation and how it can mimic, can infect anyone, etc., etc. So yeah. So by this point, McCready knows this. Fuchs had gone out and he found a piece of clothing which had McCready's name on it. Windows finds McCready's like bit of clothing. I can't tell what it is, if it's like pants.
It's from his jacket, most likely. It's a piece of fabric with his name, and he thinks that he's the one.
But only him specifically. He doesn't share this with anybody because he doesn't want to. He essentially has this plan in his mind. So he manages to lock McCready in his own, basically in his own shack.
No, what they go out to investigate it, and when they come back, because they have to come back through the line, because it's the strong winds and all the snow, you can't see anything, so they have to walking in the line. And I think he cut the line or dropped the line or something like that to leave him behind on purpose.
Okay. That was it. Yeah.
That much I remember.
Yeah. But then McCready survives it and manages to get back. And now he's has a bit of TNT that he's threatening to blow up in case they decide to threaten him again, because he knows that he's human. Basically, it's like just take my word for it. Then
exactly. He breaks into the house with the sticks of dynamite, the bundle. Yes. I remember that in the confusion, there's one of them is having a heart attack. Norris. And Copper attempts to defibrillate him in a very well-known scene. He's shaking, rubbing the pads together, puts them on his chest and presses the things. Nothing happens, and then takes them away, starts rubbing it again. And when his hands go down, Norris's chest opens up.
Yep. And it chops his arms off. Copper bleeds to death. Norris thing crawls out. His head detaches itself from his body, gains legs, while McCready and Windows are burning the other part of the body, which has also grow its own head. It's just crazy.
it's as Blair was saying. Every cell of this thing, it's his own thing, so it can essentially
Yep.
assimilate a body and then split itself into smaller pieces.
It's like an amoeba or something.
So as
Mhm.
its body is being burned, his head is running away to preserve whatever is left of it, because it can grow back. It's fine with biding time.
Yep. Yep.
So this is the moment where they all tie each other down, and and it's weird. And well, we'll get to it in the analysis, but this is a very, very interesting horror movie.
Yes. Yes.
They tie each other down, and McCready has everybody cut themselves essentially to make a small wound and pour blood into
Bit
a
of
petri
blood.
dish that he's thank you. He's then going to heat a poker with this flamethrower and poke the blood to see if there's any reaction. If every cell of this thing has self-preservation instinct, it will want to defend itself from a hot thing,
Yep.
right?
Yep. It's way more practical than the other blood experiment that they were trying to do before.
Yeah, it's very pragmatic indeed.
Yes, and it does work. He correctly assumes that
He himself is okay.
yeah, and someone, I think he knows he knows it's at least one other person is infected. And he when it gets to, I believe it
Palmer, the biker.
Palmer, his blood reacts and he begins to transform. And he is, because they're all tied down, it's actually quite terrifying because there's people who are tied
Who are
to him.
not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They're all together.
And the guy is, well, he's freaking the out. Like, he's just like, get him off me. Windows was grabbing the flamethrower. Flamethrower didn't work. This thing unties itself and chops Windows's head and kills him before McCready set him ablaze.
Yeah, after he has to kill them both. And the levels of mistrust here are at a all-time high. Just before we witnessed McCready had to kill Clark because he was not. He really thought that McCready was the thing. He was about to attack him with.
He was gonna stab him. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was forced to kill a human, and everybody is in shock. Like, we just killed a man.
Yep.
And minutes after, they're all tied together to right next to one of these creatures. It's kind of mental.
Yeah. They're all going a little crazy at this point. But regardless, the experiment worked, and none of them, except for maybe Blair, who's still stuck in that old shack, none of them is the thing. None of them are affected, at least now. And so they decide, okay, so this is Childs, Gary, McCready, of course, Knowles. I believe that's all of the ones that are like in this
Blair,
room.
who was in the other,
Exactly. And Blair is on the other side, yeah. So they decide to so McCready, Knowles, and Gary decide to check out and do the test in Palmer in Blair, sorry, while Child stays behind to look over the rest of the facility. And when they get to the shack, it is open.
Dun dun dun. It seems that Blair, as like, what's the saying?
Cat's out of the bag.
No, it's the devil will find work for idle hands to do.
Oh, yeah.
Since that they find that Blair has been working on a spaceship of his own.
Yep.
He's found parts around whatever place he's in and tried to make a way to go back home.
I guess. Yeah, he's nowhere to be found. Yeah, he built this thing in a underground. I'm not sure if he dug it up himself. I don't think so. He just found that there was a kind of a secret entrance under the shack to this
Yeah, I don't think he
larger.
had time to dig like that.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Meanwhile, Childs has disappeared, and this is when they decide to just yeah, let's just blow this entire thing up.
Nuke it from orbit is the only way to be sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they assume that the thing is, it if it can't kill everyone itself, it's going to let the cold kill them. It's
yeah,
going to
yeah,
fall asleep again and then just assimilate the next rescue team that comes its way.
exactly. So they want to get rid of it before that happens. Because the generator was for whatever
Destroyed.
reason it was destroyed.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they're gonna freeze to death eventually. And yeah, you could go ahead.
So they set out a bunch of explosives, but the thing ends up killing Gary. Nos disappears in the confusion. McCready is the only one who can actually do something about this at the moment. And as the thing tries to destroy the detonator,
He's like, you too.
and throws a stick of dynamite into it, destroys everything, and lives just enough to find Childs, who is
Covered in snow.
they die sort of hero's death off screen. We don't even see it.
The last scene of the movie is the two of them sitting amidst the rubble, looking at each other, and Childs is like, how are we gonna make it? And McCready is like, maybe we shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, let's just stay here, see what happens. And then he hands his bottle of scotch,
JB.
yeah, to for Charles to drink, and he drinks from it. Yeah, this is yeah. And that's how the movie ends. We don't get to figure out if either of them is infected, if they're not infected.
If both of them are infected.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like this is a thing that if we want to go straight into analysis, this is, I guess, because the whole movie is a very mystery thriller, obviously
At
body
its-
horror, but it is
At
a
its
mystery.
core, it's about trust and the lack of trust in a small community, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, and it's and it leaves these like a lot of the movie has a lot of attention to detail. It has a lot of these interesting Chekhov's guns and things that it puts, and also a bit of red herrings with like the McCready like ripped bit of jacket. Like it just this is. I think this is the Agatha Christie school of mystery. It's just the way that John Carpenter has built this plot is it's quite nice. It lets you it's sort of a game, playing with your expectation, with your prediction, and then it just at the end it just leaves the open question.
Will they, won't they?
Yeah.
That's another thing about this movie. Have you realized the absolute lack of women in a horror movie?
That's true. It's quite uncharacteristic. Because I think it's just, it's all men, because I think that's just the way that expeditions to the Antarctic are, maybe.
Yeah,
I guess
we just watched Event Horizon not so long ago, a movie that is, I mean, it's much after this one.
it's sci-fi. I mean, it's a little different, I guess. This one is supposed to be contemporary. No, but it does leave. It's
Like,
it's
can you
interest-
imagine if just one woman was here, though? How different this movie could have been.
It would have been messier, perhaps.
Why'd you say that?
I don't know, because they just, I don't know. Maybe not.
If they had sat down and have a nice talk with each other, they would have figured out who would have been the.
Okay. Yeah, my sexism showed up a bit there. You're right. Maybe. Okay, maybe she would have put some sense into the man. You're right. That's a good.
Just take a look at Ripley, right? If they had listened to the woman for the entire movie, they would have survived.
True.
And this movie does not have one.
Which is why they all died.
Which is why they all died.
I mean, unless you watch the sequel, because I think McCready actually survives, but that's a
McCready actually survives. Oh, but and this isn't the sequel a prequel?
There's two sequels. There's a prequel and there's a sequel, which I think came out like three years ago or something. I haven't looked into it. I saw images of it, and I know it's the same. I think it's the same actor who plays. So I think it's supposed to
Nah,
be.
I don't think there's. I think there's a movie that's like 14 years old at the point at this moment,
Or
and
maybe it's fake.
it is a prequel. The movie ends where this one begins.
Okay. Then maybe it's fake. I don't know. I saw some things from it, some images online, but maybe that was fake. I don't know.
No, in the prequel there are women.
It's a movie that has a lot of it's has a lot of rewatchability, I guess, because you can just keep taking it apart and analyzing and seeing like all the once you know what happens, you can actually sort of rewatch it and see all the little breadcrumbs, little details that were left for you to catch. And you're like, wow, I didn't notice that before, but now it's so obvious. So I always love movies like this and stories like this. Like once you know the twist or once you know the
Yeah, you can go watch it again to see if there's how many of those were actually.
Mhm.
What did I miss? Right?
how many
What
times was that
foreshadowed?
foreshadowed? Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
What was foreshadowed that I didn't understand?
What is really tragic? There's a bunch of the movie is actually really tragic when you think about it from the perspective of well of the people. Blair, for example, he was the guy that had the most fear and was the most adamant on like we need to destroy this. We need to even if we all die,
Mm-hmm.
we cannot allow this thing to escape. And he was put aside for the entire movie, basically up until the end. He was isolated. He was essentially put in isolation. So,
But he was also the thing.
and this is interesting. At the time, and this is a lot of I guess speculation, but I believe that at the time he was not the thing, because if he was the thing, he wouldn't have destroyed all those computers. He wouldn't have killed the dogs. Because I believe from what I've seen, the thing when it infects someone, it does what is most effective for it to survive and spread. So it tries to be as amicable and as non-confrontational as possible. You see this with Bennings. No, not Bennings.
And Palmer.
Palmer, yeah. You see this with Palmer. And I believe that when they locked... Like, the movie puts a bunch of these things together. It threads everything so well. Because you have the scotch that McCready is constantly drinking out of. And they said, after, I think it was Fuchs, who said, we should prepare our own meals and we should not exchange, we should drink from different bottles. So this was after this point. McCready actually gives his own bottle of scotch for Blair to drink from. And then he drinks from it. And he wasn't the thing. So we can assume that Blair at this point was not the thing. He wasn't infected. I believe he was infected during his stay in confinement by someone who was probably infected, who infected the meal that then gave to him. Because there was a noose in the shack.
Okay, you're not okay. Okay, that's a great point actually.
So
I'll concede.
he tried to kill himself because he knew he was infected, but it was too late. Just imagine that.
That's a great point. He does after McCready opens the window. He does say with the noose in the screen. He does say, "I'm okay now.
Yes,
I would like to go back."
He's
You're
infected
right.
by this point.
You're
Yeah.
right. I guess you're. I've watched it so many times and I never looked at it that way.
It has so many little details like this. It's just very
Good.
yeah. It's very cool.
I'm proud of you.
Big brain, big throbbing brain.
You're at a really big brain. And again, this is I think the second month in a row that we do Cosmic, right?
Is this really cosmic? I mean, it's
Yes.
it's body
Yes,
horror.
it is. Yes, it is cosmic. I can
mean-
argue for. I can. It's not that I see it everywhere, okay?
Okay.
But it is, in essence, a thing from a much larger universe that cares nothing for how we feel. It is just trying to survive, and we are its prey. We are not the special little snowflakes that we think we are.
There is a very interesting piece of the movie which isn't really explored, and I'm glad that it wasn't because I think it works much better as just sort of, it's just sort of at the back of your mind. I don't know which characters mentioned this, but after they discover, the ship, where it came from, and all that, and they sort of piece everything together, they deduce that this thing was infect. This thing infected the ship that crashed in Antarctica all those years ago. It's implied that this thing, this creature, has been infecting world after world and spreading.
So you're arguing for my point.
Yes, I'm saying that in a way, with that in mind, you could argue that that part of the movie at least is cosmic horror, because it is implying this not even aliens can understand. Aliens are also afraid of this thing. So this is alien to aliens. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're all
I understand.
Yeah, we're all victims of this whatever this is. And it's never, we don't know where it came from. We can't know where it came from, which is interesting.
Even taking it a step further, now that you mentioned the thing from Blair and him not being infected from the start and now becoming infected, it is very Lovecraftian.
Yeah. Okay. I guess it is.
It's the movie also has a small hint of xenophobia at the beginning with the
with the
misunderstanding with the Norwegians. I'm not arguing that the Americans were wrong in shooting the Norwegian, but it was all just a misunderstanding, and and the strangeness of the alien compared to the human.
Yep.
And it's a very literal being assimilated in the very literal sense.
Oh,
no longer whatever racist spoutings we want to dress it as. It is literally being assimilated.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Norwegians. Yeah, the people who spoke Norwegian got this movie spoiled in the beginning. Maybe, kind of, because what he says, I don't have the transcript here, but he says what the guy says to the Americans is something like, "Beware, that thing's not a dog. It's not real." Something of that effect. Don't be fooled by it. Kind of spoils it a little bit, but only up to like the middle of the movie, because I think by that point it's not that big of a spoiler.
No, it's just like if you do speak Norwegian, I'm obviously joking. It's more like in the sense of,
I think
if you speak German, you can get spoiled by watching Star Wars. It's the idea of that something is off about that dog, instead of why are these people shooting at the cute dog? The dog did nothing wrong. The dog is incapable of doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
It cannot. Nothing in this world justifies you chasing a sled dog in a helicopter with a rifle.
Yeah, but it's interesting because like one of two things could happen if you spoke Norwegian, which is you would sort of be like, okay, let's see what happens. Let's see how these dumb Americans react to this unknown threat. But you could also be like, okay, this guy's clearly nuts. Like, he's saying the dog is not real, don't trust. Like, he's clearly insane. So maybe you don't get spoiled. Maybe you do. Maybe it reinforces the premise. I don't know. It's done really well. The hook is perfect. It's so simple, and it's just a really like a great way to start, and it's iconic. Great way to start a movie. I mean, the movie itself, in general, is iconic. I mean, it's very 80s as well, and it inspired so many things. I think it had a comeback in recent years because of a certain game that came out. What was it called? Amongst Us? Amogus?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I've heard of it in passing.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard, okay, the context that I've heard of it in is the amount of things that it ruined. I've heard that it ruined eulogies. I've heard that it ruined music notation. I've heard that it ruined trash cans.
I think I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, it's ruined a bunch of. It's basically
the little cartoons, the little spaceman. Colored.
Yeah. You must have seen it somewhere because that was everywhere.
Okay. I think so. I think I know what you're talking about. And you say that that game was inspired by this movie?
Maybe. Yeah, I think so. The interesting thing is, much like the thing, this also infected a bunch of, well, not people, but it also infected the world. Maybe it is Among Us. Maybe you were infected. How do I know?
I certainly hope I'm not. But you can test my blood.
You want to drink from my scotch?
I'm. No, with the amount of incursions that we've had, I will drink from my own cup. Thank you very much.
Okay, that was the correct answer. Okay, I think what else can we say about this?
Trust your buddies in the end, or trust no one. You know what? Do like Fox Mulder, trust no one. That's the moral of this movie. Trust no one.
Yep. And maybe if you find an alien thing in the ice of Antarctica, maybe don't wake it up. Just an idea, you know. Bring it here instead, so we can analyze it.
Please send us all of your samples of ancient, undead, living organisms, preferably alien, to.
No.
Bleep it all, don't worry.
Okay.
This is a 10 out of 10 for me. You can do the thing. No pun intended.
I can do the thing. The candles are out. The circles have been erased. And we will let silence reign again. The Grymm Mansion is closing its gates. Have a horrible night. And we'll see you next time.